Hey there, this is Mr. Wilford, and I just wanted to go through Chapter 5, Section 4 with you here real quick. This is all about completing the square. And the first slide here actually is something we've talked about already as far as solving a quadratic equation where you have just the x squared term and you don't have the x term. This still is a quadratic equation because of the x squared term. But notice I don't have an x term, I just have a bunch of numbers here and such. So again, the easiest way I think to solve this kind of problem is to really just get the x squared by itself first. And to do that, we would add 4 to both sides. Then we would divide both sides by 3, and then I would take the square root to both sides. The square root cancels the squared out, and I get x equals plus or minus the square root of 24. Your book is going to they're going to simplify this radical like this, 2 times the square root of 6. It's fine if you want to use a calculator and get decimal numbers for that. Now, sometimes you'll have a quadratic equation where the methods that we've talked about so far, the taking the square root or trying to reverse FOIL, things like that just do not work. And one thing that you can do is solve the quadratic by what we call completing the square. And in your notes here we have different steps, 6 different steps really to complete the square. I'm going to try to do this problem here for you, and I'll kind of talk through some of these steps as I go. So the very first thing that you want to do is try to rewrite this, make sure that it's written in the correct order, the standard form order. So I'm just going to rewrite this problem by subtracting 12 to both sides and setting it equal to 0. Now, one of the steps that you have here is really you have to get the a equal to 1. So what I'm going to do is actually divide everything by 2 because I want the first coefficient here to be 1. So if I divide everything by 2, the next step here would be x squared plus 4x minus 6 is equal to 0. Now, when you're completing the square, what you need to do is you need to take the constant, the number by itself here, the negative 6, and that has to go to the other side. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides, and it looks like this. Notice I'm going to leave a little space here. Now, this is the important part to complete the square. What you're doing is you're going to look at this number right here, this plus 4. You're going to take half of that number and you're going to square it. So half of 4 is 2, and 2 squared is 4, and you're going to add that to both sides. Okay, now on the right hand side, this isn't too bad. We're just going to simplify. 6 plus 4 gives me 10. On the left hand side, there's a little trick to this. This actually is a quadratic that we could factor by reverse foiling. And what we're going to notice is that when we, if we were to reverse FOIL this, these two factors would actually be the same. So there's a little trick, a little shortcut that you can do. What I do is I put parentheses and square it. Because these two factors are going to be the same, I'm just going to write it once and put a squared. Now the trick is to take this x squared, you take that variable x, you take whatever sign is right here. So in this case, this is a plus sign. And then I'm going to take the square root of whatever number is here, so the square root of 4 is 2. Now what I'm able to do then is actually look at this equation, and I have x plus 2 squared. I'm actually going to take the square root to both sides. The square root will knock the squared out. I get x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 10. Okay, let me move this down a little bit. Now, I'm basically wanting to solve for x. So all I'm going to do here is subtract 2 to both sides, and I get x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 10. This is solving this quadratic. I've solved for x. I really have two answers here. I could leave it like this. This would be fine. Or I could find the decimal equivalent, negative 2 plus the square root of 10, and negative 2 minus the square root of 10. And those are my answers. Thanks.